Welcome to 75 Stories, a podcast created to commemorate the 75th anniversary of Normandale Lutheran Church in Edina, Minnesota.
The Normandale Foundation Board has been thinking about how we educate the congregation on what the foundation does and what we're really all about. And that's not meant to be negative towards the congregation. That's really, I think, a reflection that the foundation from time to time hasn't carried a high enough profile. And so what we've thought about and have been trying to talk to the congregation about is seeing the foundation as part of the overall stewardship process at the church. There is no competition from our perspective. A member never needs to say, should I give to the foundation or should I give to the church? If we can engage people in thinking about what they love about the church, what they might want to support, then the foundation board along with the church council has some paths we follow with those donors to think about where their gifts can best rest. So annual contributions, your pledges, if you will, those go to the church. They always go to the church. Special campaigns, those always go to the church. But when someone may want to leave a legacy, addition to their annual giving and campaign giving, something that might be lasting a little longer, supporting a particular ministry or something that they were interested in, that's where we can really help them accomplish their giving goals. When I became active again on the foundation board, I went and reread the articles and bylaws. Now, most people don't do that, but I'm a lawyer and I read articles and bylaws. And one of the really neat things I found is that we are directed in our articles and bylaws to adopt as our strategy the strategy of the church. So we're completely aligned with supporting ministries. So when we think about, as a foundation board, the key ministries, mission outreach, all of the ministries, our job, we're directed to align with those. So for example, we work closely with Healing and Wholeness, not to carry out their mission itself, they do that, but we invest some of their funds for them so that they don't have to have a separate committee thinking about how they do that. We do the same thing with Normandale House. Those funds would be returned to them in a heartbeat if they needed them, but while those funds are not needed, we're the ones who oversee the investment of those. And then we entertain additional grant requests from those two, as well as internal. Those are both external companies, if you will, or organized entities that carry out their mission. We do the same thing with ministries internal to the church. Stephen Ministry, we haven't had a grant request, but we've talked about that and wanting to support that as well. Youth and Family, we're always open and had a presentation from Youth and Family so that we would know what they're doing and think about how we might be able to help. One of the wonderful things about having a foundation with some money at a church like this, which is so active, is that the church council and our church business manager can go ahead and put together an annual budget. We have a wonderfully generous congregation. We know that within their ability, they'll meet their pledges. But when special things come up during the year, things that could not really be anticipated, or things that go beyond the normal budget, the foundation is a good place for those folks managing those programs or ministries to go to say, could we get a little boost here? So for example, the preschool had old carpet. It was kind of, I think, embarrassing for people to show up and see it. Well, that was a perfect request to the foundation, which we honored a couple years ago, to say, yeah, we know why that wouldn't be in your normal budget. We'd like to help, and they asked for it. We'd like to help contribute to pay for the new carpet. Or Jacob came up with a couple items within the Youth and Family budget that just, or expenses that weren't within the budget. So he came and asked if we could help with those. So I feel like we fill in around the edges when the budget itself didn't support everything that needed to happen. I'm concerned that people might sometimes be hesitant to engage in a conversation with the foundation or any one of its board members for fear that it'll become a fundraising moment. And that's not how it usually works. Over the years, we've encountered people who already love a certain ministry or two, and they've thought already that if they could, they'd like to do something for the long-term support. And what we can bring to the table is assistance to them in making that happen in a way that's comfortable with them. I remember working, I was an estate planning lawyer before I retired. I remember working with a couple from here who sought me out, and they already knew what they wanted to do. They just didn't know quite how to fit that into their plan. And so the message is to people, just engage us. It's not an uncomfortable process. It's a way where we can help them accomplish their goals.
We are so glad you joined us today here at 75 Stories. If you'd like to share your own story, please contact Christy Shepard at kshepard@normluth.org. Join us next week for another story, and share this podcast with your friends and family. We are all part of the Normandale community.